This is Jyoti.
Hi.
She's the world's shortest woman at 24 inches tall.
My name is Rumeysa Gelgi, and I am the tallest woman in the world.
Imagine waking up trapped in a body doctors can't explain. Every scan and every test only raises more questions than answers. For most people, that kind of mystery would break them. But these women didn't just survive it, they turned it into strength. From one whose face grew hair like a werewolf to another who feels no pain at all. These are the real women with conditions so rare they defy science. Number 10. Lizzie Velasquez. From the moment Lizzie Velasquez was born in Austin, Texas, doctors knew something didn't add up. Her body simply wouldn't store fat. The diagnosis that finally explained it was marfanoid progeroid lipodystrophy syndrome, a condition so rare that fewer than 1 in 1 million people on Earth have it. It keeps her body fat almost non-existent and makes weight gain nearly impossible. She is blind in her right eye and sees only partially through her left. As an adult, she stands about 5 feet 2 inches tall and in past profiles has weighed somewhere between 58 and the mid-60s in pounds, staying energized by eating small, frequent meals throughout the day. Then came high school, and the video that changed everything. One morning, she found a clip online calling her the world's ugliest woman. Millions saw it. Most would have shut down. Lizzie didn't. She chose to fight back, not with anger, but with her voice. Her TEDx Austin Women Talk, How Do You Define Yourself?, reached viewers across the world. From that stage, she began visiting classrooms, meeting families, and showing kids that bullying no longer ends at school. It now follows them home, glowing on screens. Her fight became a film. A Brave Heart, the Lizzie Velasquez story, premiered at South by Southwest in March 2015, won an audience award, and hit theaters on Friday, September 25th before streaming everywhere. Science caught up to her story too. Researchers traced her condition to changes in a gene called FBN1, the same one tied to Marfan syndrome. That gene makes a huge protein that splits into smaller parts. One of those pieces, identified in 2016, turned out to be a fasting hormone called asparagine, a signal that tells the liver to release glucose. People with Lizzie's mutation have almost no asparagine, which matches her lifelong lack of body fat and constant need to snack. Her case, studied alongside another patient, helped scientists uncover that hormone and sparked new research into whether blocking asparagine could help treat type 2 diabetes and obesity. Lizzie studied communication at Texas State University and grew an enormous online community by speaking honestly about her hospital stays, her low days, and her little victories. She's written books rooted in courage and kindness. She stood before Congress to support the Safe Schools Improvement Act and joined national campaigns during Bullying Prevention Month, demanding clear rules, real reporting, and classrooms where empathy counts as much as grades. Number 9. Supatra Nat Sassuphan. Supatra Nat Sassuphan was born in Bangkok on August 5, 2000. When her mother first saw her in the incubator, she was covered in soft, dark hair from face to feet. The name for it is Ambras syndrome, a form of congenital hypertrichosis. It's so rare that only about 50 cases have been recorded since the Middle Ages. Growing up, Nat faced the nicknames you would expect: Wolf Girl, Monkey Face. She kept pushing anyway. She made friends, played, watched cartoons, and tried to live like any other kid. There were real medical hurdles too. As a baby, her nasal passages were so narrow she struggled to breathe until surgeons widened them. Lasers and other hair removal attempts didn't last. The hair kept coming back. Everything changed when Guinness World Records invited her to Italy. On March 4, 2010, specialists measured her hair growth on an Italian TV show called Lo Show Dei Record. They used the Ferriman-Galway scoring method, basically a checklist doctors use to rate hair growth on different body areas. The next year, Guinness confirmed her as the world's hairiest child or teenager. Nat didn't ask for pity. She smiled and said being hairy makes her special. This isn't a hormone problem like hirsutism. It isn't a side effect of medicine. it's inborn. In Ambras syndrome, a genetic change switches on hair in places it normally wouldn't grow, and it starts at birth. That's why shaving, waxing, and even lasers don't fix it for long. There is no cure today. Nat handled the attention with calm. She never tried to hide in public. She posed for school photos, learned to keep the hair trimmed out of her eyes, and spoke openly about being different. As she got older, she chose what to do with her look. In 2018, several outlets reported that she started shaving regularly and shared that she had gotten married. Number 8. Rumeysa Gelgi. Rumeysa Gelgi stands about 7 feet 1 inch tall, officially 215.16 centimeters, and holds the Guinness title of tallest living woman since 2021. She was born in Karabük, Turkey on January 1, 1997. From birth, doctors saw signs of Weaver syndrome, a very rare growth condition that makes babies large at birth and speeds up bone growth. Guinness notes she is the first documented case in Turkey and roughly the 27th known worldwide. Her early years came with big health hurdles. She had open heart surgery as a baby because of congenital heart defects, later surgeries for an umbilical hernia and a curved spine, and months of physiotherapy before she could take steps with a walker. Because long days at school would have been hard on her body, she studied at home and, years later, trained as a front-end web developer. Her unusual height drew attention early. At 17, she was measured at just over 7 feet and confirmed as the tallest living female teenager. Day to day, she mixes independence with smart aids. She often uses a wheelchair for distance and a walker for short, safe movement, and she swims to keep her muscles strong. Her measurements also earned rare records beyond height. In 2022, Guinness verified 3 more: the longest finger on a living woman at about 4.4 inches, the largest hands on a living woman at just under 10 inches across, and the longest back on a living woman at about 23.5 inches. Travel was a wall she wanted to climb. In late 2022, Turkish Airlines removed 6 seats and installed a stretcher so she could lie flat for a 13-hour flight from Istanbul to San Francisco. It was her first time on a plane. In 2025, it was revealed that she has to pay for 6 seats on a flight. Number 7. Kaitlyn Dobrow. Kaitlyn Dobrow was 18 when her world flipped overnight. What started as the flu turned into a war for her life. Doctors soon realized it wasn't the flu at all. It was meningococcal disease, a rare infection that attacks fast and doesn't stop. Within hours, her body was shutting down. To save her life, surgeons had to amputate both her arms and both her legs. Months passed in the hospital, her body wrapped in bandages after countless skin grafts and more surgeries than she could count. Somehow, she made it through. When she finally returned home to Orange County, cameras caught a glimpse of what survival really looked like. A young woman relearning the basics: how to sit, how to move, how to keep living inside a body that had changed overnight. But what stood out wasn't the pain, it was her attitude. Even in the middle of rehab, she'd crack a joke, smile for the nurses, and refuse to give up. Then something unexpected gave her direction again: makeup. During rehab, she learned to hold a brush with her prosthetic arm. It was clumsy at first. She'd move her face to meet the brush, steadying her hand one tiny stroke at a time. But the moment she finished her first look, she realized it wasn't just makeup, it was control. It was her way back. Soon she launched a YouTube channel, turning her recovery into a raw, honest space where she talked about everything: the pain, the faith, and the fight to feel normal again. One Halloween tutorial changed everything. She painted a cheetah print look that went viral. Beauty outlets picked it up, and Teen Vogue called out her precision and confidence. Viewers weren't just impressed, they were inspired. From then on, Kaitlyn's channel became makeup tips next to real talk about bad days, prosthetics, and learning to love the mirror again. By 2019, she'd built an audience in the hundreds of thousands. Brands came calling. Her name showed up in beauty features and talk shows. When she was still in the hospital, actor John Stamos stopped by and promised her a Disneyland trip, and he kept it. Number 6. Harnaam Kaur. Born on November 29, 1990 in Slough, England, Harnaam Kaur grew up with polycystic ovary syndrome, a hormonal condition that can cause excess facial hair. For most of her childhood, she hid it, shaved it, and tried to disappear into the background. But hiding never worked for long. The hair always grew back, and so did the comments. So she made a choice that would change everything. She kept her beard. That single act turned a private struggle into a public stand. In September 2015, Guinness World Records officially recognized her as the youngest woman with a full beard at 24 years and 282 days old, measured right in her hometown. The road there wasn't clean or easy. Harnaam has spoken candidly about the bullying that shadowed her childhood. The names, the stares, the isolation. There were dark stretches marked by depression, self-harm, and suicidal thoughts before she found her turning point. She says the decision came when she realized she could either spend her life running from herself or learn to stand still and speak. Around that same time, at 16, she was baptized into the Sikh faith and embraced its tradition of leaving body hair uncut. Fashion eventually noticed what courage looked like. In March 2016, Harnaam became the first bearded woman ever to walk the runway at London Fashion Week. 1 year earlier, her portrait had hung among 80 others in the Somerset House Beard Show, a gallery wall that made viewers stop and think twice about what beauty can mean. From there, she booked bridal shoots, fronted campaigns, and built a global following. Her work reaches far beyond catwalks. She speaks in schools, mentors teenagers, and delivers talks about how bullying begins long before the first insult. Her TEDx talk, Empowerment Through Confidence, pulls no punches. She tells students and adults alike, don't touch people without permission, don't take photos of strangers, and don't treat human beings like exhibits. That same message runs through her media projects. In one short film, cameras follow her through London's streets, showing what stares feel like from her side of the lens. In another unexpected turn, she partnered with the grooming brand Captain Fawcett in 2017 to create the Bearded Dame Hair Elixir, a beard oil campaign that flipped every marketing rule simply by featuring her. Today, Harnaam calls herself a body confidence coach as well as a model. Number 5. Mandy Sellars. Mandy Sellars was born in Lancashire in 1975 with legs and feet already far larger than the rest of her body. As she grew, the lower half of her body never slowed down. It kept expanding fast, far past anything doctors could explain. They tried names, tossed around theories, and warned her parents she might never walk. Mandy did anyway. First with crutches, later with a wheelchair and a hand-controlled car. By her late 20s, everything collapsed at once. A deep vein clot, then infection after infection, sent her body into crisis. In 2010, blood poisoning forced doctors to amputate above her left knee. Television crews followed as she faced her worst fear, not just losing a limb, but losing the independence she had fought for since childhood. She survived the surgery, and then watched something no one expected. The amputated side began to grow again. The stump ballooned. This was never just big legs. Something deep inside her cells was stuck on fast forward. That question, why won't it stop, took her case to specialists. In the documentary Shrinking My 17-Stone Legs, Cambridge endocrinologist Dr. Robert Semple took skin samples from her arm and her leg and compared their DNA. He found a fault in a gene called PIK3CA, the tiny switch that tells cells when to grow and when to slow down. In Mandy's legs, that switch was jammed in the go position. It wasn't classic Proteus syndrome, the label she'd once carried, but part of a broader disorder now known as PIK3CA-related overgrowth spectrum, or PROS. For the first time, science had a precise target, and with a target came hope. Guided by that gene map, her team began treatment with rapamycin, also called sirolimus, a drug that calms the growth pathway linked to PIK3CA. Within about 90 days, scans showed early shrinkage. Years later, reports confirmed she began a newer medication in 2016 that slowed or even reversed growth. She later tried a PIK3CA blocking pill called alpelisib, now in clinical trials for pros. None of these drugs was perfect, but they turned nothing can be done into maybe this will help. And for Mandy, that was enough reason to keep pushing. At times, the combined weight of her legs measured in the hundreds of pounds, with her left stump once close to a meter around. Every transfer, every doorway, every step needed planning. She rebuilt her house to fit her world, learned which prosthetics held up and which didn't. And when walking was impossible, she still found ways to get outside, meet friends, and stay visible. Mandy helped found Go PI3Ks, a support group for people with PIK3CA-related conditions, and became the first person new patients often wrote to when they needed answers. Number 4. Kaylee Halko. Kaylee Halko was born in Ohio with Hutchinson-Gilford progeria syndrome, a rare condition that makes the body age far too quickly. Most children with progeria never reach their mid-teens, and the disorder appears in fewer than 1 in several million births. Even with that clock running too fast, Kaylee grew up bright, calm, and full of energy, the kind of child who made people stop and listen when she spoke. Her story first reached national television while she was still little. In early 2010, she and her parents sat beside doctors on The Dr. Oz Show, and months later she appeared on 20/20 with Barbara Walters. Around the same time, when she was only 4, the Progeria Research Foundation launched the first-ever drug trial for children like her, testing a new compound called lonafarnib. Kaylee joined. Over the years, those trials showed real signs of change. Stiff arteries began to soften, hearing sharpened, and weight crept up. In late 2020, that same drug, renamed Zokinvy, became the first approved treatment for progeria in the United States, after data proved it could extend lives. As medicine advanced, Kaylee built her own stage. She joined Musical.ly, the short-form app that later became TikTok, and began posting clips that mixed humor, music, and raw honesty. She didn't do it for sympathy. She did it to make people smile and to show what life with progeria actually looks like. By the time she turned 22, more than 500,000 people followed her on TikTok, and over 150,000 watched her daily updates on Instagram. At about 18 years old, she stood roughly 3 feet 8 inches tall and weighed around 35 pounds. She learned to drive a modified black van with a booster seat, a handbrake, and a joystick steering system. In Boston, she trained a white Labrador named Iris as her service dog. She studied ultrasound, switched to law, then psychology, planning one day to work as a high school guidance counselor. The losses around her were heavy. Progeria doesn't pause, and many of the friends she met through the foundation have died young. Kaylee and 3 of them once called themselves the P-Dogs. Now she's the one left to remember them, talking often about faith and the hope of meeting them again. In January 2025, she traveled to Boston to join a new clinical trial for a small molecule drug nicknamed progerinin, designed to lower the toxic protein that drives progeria through a different route than Zokinvy. Number 3. Jyoti Amge. Officially recognized by Guinness World Records, Jyoti Amge is the world's shortest living woman. Born on December 16, 1993 in Nagpur, India, she stands just 24.7 inches tall, a little over 2 feet, or about the height of a toddler. In 2009, when she was still a teenager, physicians measured her live on television and confirmed she stood around 2 feet tall, earning her the title of the world's shortest living female teenager. Her height comes from achondroplasia, a genetic condition that slows bone growth. The plates in her long bones never lengthened the way they do in most people, so while her features matured, her height froze at just over 2 feet. But what makes Jyoti stand out isn't her size, it's the way she uses it. In August 2014, television producer Ryan Murphy cast her in American Horror Story, Freak Show. Petite, a sweet, quiet, unforgettable character who stole nearly every scene she was in. On set, she stood beside Hollywood giants and handled it with calm confidence. She later said she loved the independence the job gave her, even as she reminded fans that she's not a prop. People sometimes tried to pick her up or touch her hair without asking, something she refuses to tolerate. Television didn't stop calling. In 2020, Discovery's TLC released a special titled World's Smallest Woman, Meet Jyoti, following her through her daily life. Shopping, traveling, working, and managing constant attention. When India went into lockdown in April 2020, Jyoti stepped up. Nagpur police invited her to join their public awareness drive. She walked the streets alongside officers, urging people to stay home, wash their hands, and wear masks. The sight of her, tiny but commanding, went viral across the world. "If my presence helps even a few people listen," she said, "then it's worth it." 4 years later, in November 2024, Guinness brought her to London's Savoy Hotel to meet Rumeysa Gelgi, the world's tallest living woman. One stood a little over 2 feet, the other over 7. The two shared tea, laughed, and compared what life feels like at opposite extremes. Number 2. Melanie Gaydos. There's no template to compare Melanie Gaydos to, no familiar look to file her under. She was born with ectodermal dysplasia, a rare genetic condition that changes how hair, teeth, nails, sweat glands, and even small bones form. That difference gave her a face fashion had never seen before, and instead of hiding it, she turned it into her strength. She built a career on her own terms, one image at a time. Growing up, the condition shaped nearly everything. She has alopecia, which means she has little to no hair. She's also partially blind after her lashes scratched her eyes as a child. None of that stopped her. In New York City, at Pratt Institute, she began as an art student, sketching and painting, and then started taking self-portraits. Classmates and photographers started noticing her presence and asked her to pose. She agreed, finding small shoots through Craigslist, Model Mayhem, and any art circle willing to let her experiment in front of the lens. Her first global break felt unreal. Spanish fashion photographer Eugenio Recuenco cast her as the Sandman in Rammstein's Mein Herz brennt video, a dreamlike nightmare filmed in the snow outside Berlin. It fit her taste for shadow and drama perfectly. Millions watched as she transformed silence into power, proving she could carry a story with nothing but stillness and stare. From there, she kept going. Shoots with ID, Love, and Galore followed, and she even walked at New York Fashion Week. Editors booked her because she photographs like no one else. Raw, direct, unforgettable. In 2015, television producers offered her something they assumed she'd always wanted: teeth. She tried 3 dental implants and removable dentures for 8 months, then took them out for good. She said she felt more like herself without them. Number 1. Jo Cameron. Jo Cameron didn't realize she was different until late in life. She just thought she had a high pain threshold and a sunny mood. She burned herself in the kitchen and smelled skin before she noticed the injury. She broke a bone as a child and only realized when someone else saw the arm. She gave birth to 2 children and called it a bit uncomfortable. Even a hip replacement and hand surgery brought almost no pain and hardly any painkillers. Doctors in Scotland finally sent her to geneticists to find out why. Tests at University College London pointed to a hidden switch in her DNA. The team found a tiny deletion in a gene region called Fa-out, which sits next to F8AA, a gene that helps the body clear feel-good chemicals known as endocannabinoids. With that switch missing, the F8AH enzyme runs low. That means the body breaks down those soothing chemicals more slowly, which can blunt pain, ease anxiety, and speed healing. The first paper on Jo's case came out in 2019 and explained why she feels virtually no pain, heals fast, and rarely feels fear. In 2023, the same group dug deeper. They showed that FAA-out isn't junk DNA. It actually controls the FAH gene. When the switch is turned down, FAH drops, and a whole network of other genes tied to pain, mood, and wound repair shifts with it. They proved this with cell tests, gene editing, and careful checks of which genes turn on and off. That molecular map helps explain Jo's calm mood, fast healing, and unusual pain response. It also points drug hunters to new targets that might help people with chronic pain without heavy opioids. Thanks for watching. Now check out the videos popping up on screen for more unbelievable stories.